Hi, I'm Natasha Lockhart. Welcome to Studio Chatter. Today we'll have a fun idea for the littles and a big dose of reality for the rest of us.
I'm Stacy Beck. We'll meet a member of Operation Underground Railroad and learn about their important work.
And I'm Angie Murphy. We'll also talk about teaching our youth about some of the lost arts.
We've got lots to talk about coming up on Studio Chatter. Welcome to Studio Chatter. School has started and we're into the thick of it. How are we holding up?
I'm holding up great.
Because you don't have to do anything.
How are you two holding up?
Fantastic.
You're so happy that they're back in school,
So
right?
far, so good. Yeah.
Are they so happy?
Mostly.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But it's like going back to school. Like now I think it's hitting like, oh, now it's like school. Like we got to do work.
So, I mean, it
and all
started
that.
midweek, so I think there was a lot of excitedness and, you know, seeing
Yeah.
friends and lots of newness again. And, you know, we're kind of back to a full week now. So
Yes.
there is a little more dragging feet and there's
Getting up.
school and
Yes.
getting
Yeah.
up and getting back into the routine. But I think all in all,
You're loving it.
it's great.
It's good to have routine. I do like that. I mean, even though it's just Bo, and he basically had his own routine before. It's just now waking up a teeny bit earlier
Yeah.
and creating that. But I don't know. I think it's good. Other than like last night, I'm like, do you have homework? Like, have we already started down that? And he's like, yeah, I just did some math. But his schedule is just different. It's like weight training. I mean, he's taking a couple concurrent classes, but it's an easier schedule,
load.
I feel like.
Your
Yep.
senior year definitely.
I just
can
hope
be.
that it sticks around. I can almost feel like that uneasiness in the air.
A little
Oh.
bit.
A
Yeah.
lot bit.
Yeah.
I feel it, and I'm not even in school.
But we definitely had homework at our house. So Gunnar had the first grade All About Me poster.
Oh, yeah, I
So
love those.
We definitely had the, you know, fill in the blank and
Yeah.
and the art and putting the pictures, but I had a lot of fun.
How many kids are in your classes?
I don't even know the head count for
Are they
sure.
lower than in years past?
I think they are a little bit lower
But
just
not
because, not a lot.
Okay.
I think just because some of the students have selected remote, and then just because of some of the places that we have visited, I know that our district is a lot different than some of the other districts.
Right.
Just by comparison, I know that Provo School District, they're only going 2 days a week, only
Yes.
until noon. So I feel super lucky that we're going every single day
until 2:15,
until
right?
until
you're in
2:30.
We're
high school,
150,
150, okay.
I think, something like that.
Well, let's just hope and pray that they stay moving forward and stay in school for all you mamas and papas out there.
Yeah, how has the
kids.
mask wearing been, like in the classroom? I noticed
Great.
that they were saying that they're taking little breaks, like they'll do an hour and a half, then take a break.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think-
and Barrett said that in the back of her classroom, there's if they need a break or if they're feeling like they need a break, there's 2 seats in the back of the classroom that are 6 feet apart that they can go back there and actually take a break. They can tell the teacher that they need the break and they can go back there. And then I found for the kids, I wish that I would have brought them the mask lanyards. So if they go out to recess or something, they can just drop them.
Oh,
and the
cute.
little lanyards are still keeping them connected.
It's like a whole new
So I put
accessory
on their
line.
little lanyard, their little necklace in the morning,
Wow.
and we have a fresh mask every day, and it seems to be working out okay. So and they have their little sprays, their little
Yeah.
anti-backs in the
Oh,
backpack,
good.
and their little labeled bottle of water, so they get to
Good,
keep
good.
those right there in their cubbies or their desk, and I love it. I think they have it kind of figured out.
Good. I
Cool.
hope Nebo School District keeps moving
I
forward.
do too, totally.
Talking about being studious.
Stacy?
Oh.
I finished
Ooh.
it 15 minutes before we got here. So this is the new Hunger Games book.
How is it?
It was so good.
I didn't
So-
even know that there was a new one out.
So you know President Snow
Yes.
in the Hunger Games series, and that's the 75th Hunger Games. So this is when he's 18 years old. It goes back to the 10th Hunger Games and explains how he becomes a villain. So the only thing I'll really say about it, like, such a good book. I think it's as good as the others, but you get caught up, like, you really like him, but then he starts like shifting in his head of making bad choices.
Yes, yes. So it's a love-hate.
Yeah, but I'm like, no. Why are you
Don't.
thinking this way?
Right.
Oh.
Oh,
So-
I had no idea that there was
Costco.
another one out. Thank you,
Costco right now.
Stacy, for
Yep.
keeping us
gosh, I need
educated.
to pick that up.
It's it has to be a series.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Awesome.
it just ended like, okay, there's more.
Well, our
It
other
gave you a
ones were
little-
so great that I'm
Yeah.
glad that she's
So-
continuing.
Well, speaking of the Hunger Games, I thought a lot about you this weekend when I heard that Cinemark is open again.
I did not know
No.
that.
Yes, I'm like
Like
she's
full
got to be
force?
like the first in line to be back in the theaters. So
When? Soon?
Sunday it opened. So I know the Cinemark in Provo was open. I don't know about Spanish
I
Fork in
didn't know,
particular.
Stace, we can go to the
Yes,
movies.
so yes,
Oh,
the movies
wow.
are open again.
So are there going to be new releases or old movies? Or do you know?
I believe that it's kind of a combination of both.
Well,
Okay,
Bo was
so-
telling me about a trailer of a new Batman or something, so I'm wondering if there's some that were almost like finished that are in the works.
Oh.
So I don't know much, but I do know that they are reopened. So I thought that you would probably be
Yes,
one of the first to
I
be
was out
there.
of town, so I had no idea, and I hadn't even heard. So I
Okay.
think this upcoming weekend, you'll catch me at the
Oh
movie
yeah,
theater.
totally. But you went camping, right?
Yes.
This last weekend. How was
Yeah.
that? Well, hunting, camping.
Hunting, camping. We sat at the camp with a toddler and a 5-year-old.
Oh, and
fun.
they're matching jammies.
Uh-huh, that was
adorable.
cute.
It's just so different than what we're used to.
It is.
It's not just sit down and rest.
And read and just sit
I'm
in
like,
the
I have
trailer.
a book to finish.
And they
What are
don't
you
care,
wanting
do they?
to? You want me to play out here?
I know. So no, it was fun. It was so good to just get away and
Yeah.
just. I mean, they just dump dirt on each other, and it's
Yeah.
just fun.
It is. I love
good.
camping.
Yeah.
And you're just away from everything. That
I
sounds
love not having
fabulous.
cell service.
Yep.
Be
That's
free
the
of
best part.
everything.
What did you bring?
Well, this is actually for our guests. In a while,
Oh,
we can talk
okay.
about some old school traditions.
Okay.
I noticed though that you have your Diet Coke there. One thing
My
I
lack
was,
of table decor.
well,
thus.
one thing that I was not aware of, and I don't really drink Dr. Pepper, but I'm read and I'm told that there is a Dr. Pepper shortage in the nation.
Why?
I don't know. Have you heard that at all?
Well, I do use it when I marinate my chicken.
But neither
I
one
don't
of you
know why.
drink Dr. Pepper
Can't
regularly.
stand Dr.
No,
Pepper.
some of
don't
my
love it
family
either.
does. I used to when
Okay.
I was like 7th and 8th grade. That was my drink of choice.
Okay, well, I'm told
Yeah.
that there's like a national shortage. So
Along with the coins shortage.
Yes.
as well.
Right.
so apparently
Which is
it's
weird.
hard to
Why
read.
can't we just make
interesting
more?
year.
Why can't we just make more coins? Why do we have a
Well,
shortage?
why do we have a shortage when no one's even out spending?
And
know.
nobody uses pennies and stuff
Isn't that
anymore.
super weird?
We're all Venmoing, so why is there a
I
shortage?
use cash.
People have hoarded them.
Maybe that's
Someone
it.
has a whole bunch at their house.
Coins?
Yeah.
It's Gunner.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Tell him we need it in circulation.
Yeah.
Well, so he loves to go to Coinstar and he likes to trade it up. And so I'm curious because we haven't been lately.
Yeah.
But if you actually, because they think they take 11% when you trade in the coins. If
Right.
it's actually, if they'll give you a higher percentage, or
Right
if
now?
they'll take
Oh.
if they'll take a lesser percentage now if you actually have coins to trade in.
I think there's one like at Macy's. You should go check it out.
Yeah. So
and
if
see.
they'll actually take like 5% now.
Maybe if
instead
you
of
take it to the
taking-
bank.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very interesting.
But he likes to hoard coins and money, so it would
Good
be
for him. That's a
would be
good thing
Oh
to
yeah,
hoard.
he's like he loves money. It's weird. But
Well,
it's
I'm
a good
excited
thing.
for our show.
Yeah.
This
it's
is
going to
gonna
be
be an
awesome.
intense,
It's
Yeah,
interesting,
intense and a very, very,
educational.
very
Ooh,
good show.
I'm
So we have some
excited.
great
Yep.
guests today. Okay, next on Studio Chatter, have you taught your kids some of the lost arts? We have a way to help. Stay with us. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Maybe your mom or grandmother taught you how to sew or bake, but those skills aren't taught as much anymore. But we have someone here that teaches just these skills. Welcome Emily Averett from the Shalon Reception Center. It's a cooking, sewing, or decor issue. Emily has the skills. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So that's exactly why you're here, because those
Because I don't want
because
to
those
do
are
those
all
things.
the things I cannot do. I don't bake, I don't sew, I don't put florally things together. And my daughter happened to come to your sewing class
Yes.
this summer.
She did.
And she made things.
I
She
know.
sewed things with
She
you.
did so good.
That's
How
amazing.
fun that you're offering that to kids.
Yeah, we did it during this summer. I did a little sewing camp, and we started with just some basic skills. And I actually had them make masks too, because they're gonna need them,
Yeah.
right? So we sewed
Excellent.
masks and scrunchies, and then some of the girls continued on, and like Barrett, and she did the pajama pants. And it's amazing to see how fulfilled these little girls feel when they create something.
And how old's Barrett?
9.
And she's just showing.
So
sewing pajama pants?
literally, they started
With a little tic-tac-toe.
tic-tac-toe. That's what they started.
Oh.
They graduated to the
I
mask,
don't
Yep.
even know that I could do that.
and then she finished with the pajama bottoms.
I did this in
You
seventh
guys,
grade.
I
remember that.
cheated. I
Yes.
cheated in home ec, and I paid somebody to make my
Oh my
pajama
goodness.
bottoms. I know.
Okay, so where did
And put these fun. You could put their
the
fun
little
their
folders to keep all
together.
their info together.
She had their,
was
their
this through
little
the city or
patterns.
was it just a separate
I
class?
just did it
that we
out of my home. I had a friend approach me and say that, then asked if I would be willing to teach her daughter. So we rounded up some other girls to join. I actually hired my niece to come and help assist us too, and it was fun for her. And I think we had 6 girls in our first class, and I just taught them some skills of how to sew.
So hoping that they can circle back and maybe do
Yeah.
another session. I mean, I love you guys that she's asking. She's asking for a sewing machine for Christmas.
Oh, I love that.
Like,
I have
get,
one
like-
still in the box. It's 10 years old, but it's brand new.
But you can buy like little kids.
Yes,
Like,
you
not
can.
kids,
She
but
said,
little.
"Mom, don't buy that one. Don't
Like,
buy
she
that
wants a
one."
nicer
Yeah,
one.
she's like, "That one will break
Something
in the
that's
first
gonna
week."
last.
Well, all the girls want the one with the adjustable speed because they
Oh,
like to
okay.
run it really slow. So
Okay.
the little kid ones don't do that, but they
I was
love
thinking
it.
fast. They want to go mean.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah, they get a little intimidated. Like if your foot presses the pedal too hard and it kind of runs away
Yes.
from them, that
Like
scares them.
That's like a foreign language to me. She's like a foot pedal, and I threaded
Okay,
the
wait.
needle, the bobbin.
Yes.
I'm the what?
I've got to go back to what brought you to the sewing, baking, like that love and like staying with those like good, like
Core
value.
maybe?
Yes, yeah.
And life skills.
Yes.
You know, growing up, my mom always did 4-H with us. And so during the summer, we spent our summers doing 4-H. And it didn't matter what we wanted to learn, she found a way for us to do a project in that area. So we always did sewing. That was one we had to do. And photography was one that we tried. And if she didn't know how to teach it, she'd find somebody to kind of teach us that skill we wanted to learn. And then just the things that kind of stuck with me were always sewing and baking. And now I'm the florist at the Salon, which is our family business. So just my mom kind of gave me those opportunities to learn all these things, and then the ones I enjoyed the most, I just kept pursuing and learning. So
So before we move on to
Yeah.
baking, I've had you do some tailoring. Is that what you would call
Yes,
it? I can't remember what it was on. I think
I
a
think
pair
a
of dress
hem
pants.
came out.
Something,
And-
yes.
mhm.
So you do that for people. If someone wanted to contact you, you can sew
Yep.
a button on a shirt, or you
Buttons,
can do a
hems.
hem, or sew a
Oh, perfect.
something that.
I'm just
She's
gonna
your
write
best
on this.
friend, right?
My sister-in-law just got married, and she had a dress that she had saved for 25 years. And so
Wow.
when she was ready to get married, we had to do all these alterations. We adjusted the sleeves, and there was a giant bow on the back, and that was the first thing. I'm like, let's unpick that right away.
Wow.
Wow.
But yeah, I did some alterations on that for her, so I'm happy to do that for people.
Okay, so now let's shift from sewing to baking.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. What are you doing for people? Can you hire out? And,
And
what is
Fruity
this?
Pebbles?
Oh,
Is that what's
these
on
are
top of those?
Fruity Pebble cupcakes, and they are so good. This is like a crumble, so it's not just straight Fruity Pebbles, and you can eat it just by the handfuls. So these are Fruity Pebble
So
cupcakes.
is the cake itself, does it have Fruity
It
Pebbles
has
in
like Fruity Pebble infused milk.
What does that
Oh,
mean?
like you sew
You soak
the cereal bowl?
Yeah, you literally make a bowl of cereal and then drain the milk off and put it in the recipe.
Did you make that up?
I didn't.
Oh my gosh, I've never
That sounds made up, and I love it.
But since you brought that up, so on the Shalom page, the custom cakes I
Yeah.
noticed have become very popular.
Yes.
So talk about those for a moment.
Okay, so just to be clear, I don't bake the cakes at the Shalon. We have another baker
Okay.
that does that. But
Okay.
those are such a rage right now. The brides will
Okay.
pick like 5 of their favorite themed things, like Lord of the Rings, or
For their wedding?
Yeah.
And
So the
have it
back
out
And
half,
then they're
After
just
wedding
like,
you'll have to look at the Shalon Instagram page. On the back half of the cake will be
Okay.
just this elaborate character cake from. We had Darth Vader on the top of a cake, and a Star Wars theme, or Zelda, just all
we're
these
going
kind of.
back to like childhood. I love this.
But then
Oh
the
my
front
gosh, you
half
just
of the
had the
cake is
best
very
idea.
formal and very
Okay.
just
But
like
then
your
the back has
traditional.
like,
But as
Like
your
2 faces.
full-time job as the event coordinator
Yes.
at the Shalon, people can find you and you can help
Yes.
also provide that. Okay. And if you would like a mask, you can also.
Yeah, I've been
you
making
could-
lots of
okay,
masks.
Order
it's
those
a very
from you as well.
timely thing.
is it
Yes.
really? It
Yeah.
takes some time because they're
Oh, I ju-
double-sided and.
Yeah, but I just mean everybody needs them. So
Well, see,
it does take a little bit of time.
I can't do that either. Okay, another list
So
item.
Natasha and I have both hired you for our mom's birthday cakes.
Well, I did not. I tried to.
Yes,
I tried
she
to.
tried
but
to.
You tried to.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were able to. She was
Okay.
too booked. You have
Because
to.
I remember her
Yeah.
saying that she was going to, and so tell us about that. Is that
Yeah,
instead
I
of just going and getting like a buttercream frosting cake at
I like
the
to do
grocery store?
custom orders. I do them a lot for friends and family, so people can contact me about that, and I'll do custom birthday cakes. I'm making one actually for a little boy tomorrow. So he was doing the Fruity Pebble cake, and he wants a jazz theme. So I do that sometimes, just
Okay.
baking cakes.
And what's your Instagram, or like how can people find you and see what you have to offer?
Just through my personal page, just where there's so many different things. I do have a sewing page because I'll do dance costumes. So they can look there at Luster Design Line
Oh.
is my sewing page. But for cakes or things like that, just my personal page, or
And is that Emily?
that's Emily Ruth Averett.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have helped us, I know, with a couple of costumes in particular for candidates going to Miss Utah.
Yes.
So, and we will share some of those photos. Do you have any costumes in particular that are your favorites or that you've helped with over the past year or two?
That was absolutely one of my favorites. And that was for Miss Spanish for 2018, correct? Morgan Olson. And you know what? I hate to admit it, but the ones that I find most challenging always end up being the most rewarding.
Okay.
What one was it?
It was her Miss Utah outfit. So it was black and white, and
For her
she wore
tumbling
it
routine.
to Miss Utah.
Okay.
This was for her. This was for her
Tumbling,
talent, and it was more of a midriff and a skirt.
With lots of rhinestones. Lots of rhinestones.
So do people come to you with their idea and say, take it, or do you work together and collaborate?
A lot of times they'll present me with their idea, and then I'll do my best, or as sometimes, because I'm still learning as challenges arise, we'll make adjustments and things, but a lot of times, especially with Pinterest, which can be a good and a bad
Yes.
thing,
Yes.
people come with lots of ideas. So I'll try to help them kind of narrow down maybe the similar
Yeah.
things through their favorite ideas and put something together.
Be a little more realistic.
Yeah.
What's your favorite of the two, baking or sewing? Do you have a true love?
You know, it really depends. I love to bake, but if I do it too much, then I want to sew. So
Yes.
it kind of just,
So
I
you have
need
a
the
good
trade-off.
balance.
But I will admit, I find making bread so therapeutic. There is
Really?
just something about that, and then eating the fresh slice with butter on it.
Oh, I do
Yeah.
love that.
I'll come and sample.
Yes, I don't like the making. It's not therapeutic for me.
That's not therapeutic for me either. Mine's always been rock hard and flat and disgusting.
Mine's decent.
so-
It's just the time. I need to just relax and enjoy that time that
it,
it takes. Yeah.
No, about once a year, like literally once a year, I'll be like, we should make cupcakes. Doesn't that just sound fun? And after we're about halfway through the process.
Like, are we done yet?
Right, that's, that is me.
Why am
I'm
I
not
making
mom, I'm
Fruity
not
Pebble
domestic.
and
I'm like,
using
this is not fun.
It's funner if there's not children in the kitchen, I will say. When my little boy wants to help, it's not as therapeutic, but I try to give him the opportunity so
Oh,
someday he can
do
make
it
me
too.
things. Yeah.
I
No, that's
like,
good. Passing it on.
Yeah.
Get out the
Because
sketch
it
log
is
once
a
in
lost
while.
art, and I think it's because you can go down and buy your pajama pants for $5 at Walmart,
Yeah.
and the cupcakes or
Right.
so. And so I do think it is important to continue to teach and
Learn
to
that
have people
skill.
learn how to do these skills.
Who knows where this world's going? We
I
may
know.
all be making our own
Well, we
pajamas.
appreciate you, and we are
And that's-
calling on you to be the next 4-H
Thanks,
mom.
Emily.
Well, thank
you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
you're
Thank
awesome.
you.
Coming up next, we'll talk about the serious mission of Operation Underground Railroad. Stay with us on Studio Chatter. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. We've heard the talk about human trafficking, the Jeffrey Epsteins, and the others that operate around the world. Today we have a representative of Operation Underground Railroad. Welcome Morgan Foutz, the OUR Community Relations Manager, to our table. Thank you for being here.
Morgan,
Hello,
we're
Morgan.
so looking forward to
Yeah,
this.
we are. We need to be educated
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Sure.
The obvious question. So, what is trafficking?
So human trafficking is basically modern day slavery. It's where people are forced to do something for someone else to get the gain, goods or money.
Okay. And is that primarily sex?
No, there
Okay.
are lots of different kinds of trafficking.
Okay.
So
Give us some examples
there's
of that.
labor trafficking, there's sex trafficking,
Okay.
forced marriage trafficking, even organ harvesting. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but that one's really sad. Lots of things just that you wouldn't even know. So just
And
everyday
that's,
things.
I love that you wouldn't even know. Like when you say that and the organ trafficking and stuff, it's stuff that we don't want to think about.
Right.
I feel like, and we feel like that's in a movie, but these are things that are really happening.
Yeah, and they're happening right under our noses. And so that's why I'm really excited that you guys brought me here today so that we can share that.
Give us a little bit more about
Yeah.
the big picture, like worldwide.
So worldwide right now, it's growing. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the entire world.
So
and
more
why
than
is
drugs.
that?
So more than drugs. That's because, think about it. So you can sell cocaine, a bag of cocaine one time, but you can sell a person 30 times a day.
So
you
the
just-
money.
So the money,
Is-
it's like a $150 billion industry right now. And
It's unimaginable.
it's unimaginable. It's really, really a big problem, and it's such a big problem because people just don't know about it yet. And I think it's finally catching wind.
Definitely.
These last few months, we've seen a really big increase of
Well,
knowledge.
I believe with the Jeffrey Epstein, I know my husband started watching this series and he's like, you need to watch this with me. And I started watching it and it made me so sick. And I've watched things before, but it just like got to the core where I can't believe that this is happening right under our noses and we haven't really discussed it or
Yeah.
talked about it. And could it be happening to the person next door? Yes.
But to that
probably.
point, that's just one element.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen here in our minds. I think that's we like to believe that. So bring it home. Tell us what's going on in our area.
So really, a lot of people think that this is like a foreign problem, that people are getting kidnapped and they imagine somebody with their face being covered and dragged
Kind
and
of like
chained
the
up.
movie Taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
What,
like
10 or
Taken.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what we've all
Yeah.
imagined human trafficking
And
was.
yeah, that happens. That does happen. And you imagine runaways and things like that. But a lot of it is families selling their children. It's neighbors exploiting their children. It's people, little children on Snapchat and on Instagram and Facebook and social media being exploited. And it's really just happening in so many different ways. And so it's really, there's so many dynamics to it. A lot of people are thinking, well, there's not as many missing children as there are trafficking cases. Well, that's because these kids are sometimes going to school the very next day.
Right.
And then they come home, they do their homework, and they're exploited at night.
So can you maybe describe that? Because I have been
Right.
following you guys on Instagram and it's really opened my eyes to the point that it's also made me sick.
Right.
And there's a couple of things that I'm like, I don't know if I can read these stories because it makes me sick. So there's that
And then that
boundary
part of your brain says, oh, this isn't real or this isn't happening here. It's
but when
really
it says
hard.
Lehigh, Utah or
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
But back to the kids, and is it they're kind of being subjected or manipulated on Snapchat that send me this picture, and now if you don't do it again and again, we will show your parents and embarrass you. And so that's kind of the first step, right?
Yeah, well, that's one way.
The control.
So there's a lot of different types of grooming. So in this instance, that would be, you know, an 11-year-old girl's just thinking she's going to be talking to her friends. And some guy says, wow, you're really beautiful. And she starts talking to him, and they build this trust relationship over a certain amount of days. It could be days, it could be weeks, and even months. And then all of a sudden, hey, send me this picture, or he'll send these types of things. And there's really inappropriate conversations going on. And so actually, they say that the moment that your child has a device in their hand is when you should start talking to them about these things. So if your 3-year-old has a device and they're playing games, you don't need to say, you know, all this crazy stuff. Just say, you know, if somebody sends you a picture of their privates, that's not okay, you know? And then you can start building these conversations from a really young age. But it's the minute that they have these devices in their hands. And if we avoid these conversations, that's where we can get into a lot of trouble, and our children are in danger.
I know. I feel like that initial maybe guilt, like I saw something naughty and so I can't tell my mom, or I've done something, and then all of a sudden they get trapped in that rabbit hole of I can't tell anyone, and now what?
And so what I've done with my own kids, I have 4 children, I always say it's not your fault. It's not your fault if this happens. It's not your fault if an adult is doing these things. And if you see it, I need you to come to me so that we can take care of it, because I know it might feel embarrassing or it might be a problem. And so that's where that dialogue is really crucial.
So are we dealing with organized groups of folks that are honing in
Like the predators
on these little individuals?
Yeah, a lot of them are predators, and they are, you know, we've got really big organizations, and then there's little small ones. But yeah, and then there's just pedophiles that are interested. So you've got all of the dynamics, but it's really basically if you look vulnerable, so there's 3 really common factors for these children. Usually poverty. They're looking for money, like, oh, this guy promised me that we could live in this apartment, you know, or we could do all of these fun things. And also just that dynamic. And then a lower education is another contributing factor. And my head just blanked on the third one.
Well, it will come to you.
So yeah.
So those are good descriptions of the victims. And then once they're kind of like in, I guess, their clutches, how long are they held? Are they held forever, or until, do they age out?
So it just really depends. There's like pedophilia rings that once they reach a certain age, they can either pass them on to older rings, or I read a story about one girl that when she went through puberty, the guy, it was her next door neighbor that was doing it, he kind of just let her be. But it really depends. A lot of them really stay in it for a long time, and they age out until they're like too sick, or but really it can be, you can go as long as they'll keep you. So.
This has been very prevalent during the pandemic, especially. It seems like it seemed to get more attention or come more to a head. Why do you think that's so?
Well, there's a few stories that have been going on in the news, like the Epstein thing and a few other ones that aren't quite verified. But that happened, and then it's gotten worse during COVID.
Absolutely.
Everyone's tucked in. And
everybody's tucked in.
Technology is there.
And technology, I mean, it's really can be used for good things and really terrible things. But
So Wayfair was one of those too. Is that one of the ones that they have debunked, or was that?
I don't think they've proven that. So
I haven't heard anything.
we kind of haven't. But the thing is that happens. They are
a real
sold.
thing.
That's like, whether or not that is true, that particular story, that still is something that is happening. So.
All right. Hold that thought. Next on Studio Chatter, we'll continue our conversation with Morgan to learn more about Operation Underground Railroad. Stay with us. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. We're talking with Morgan Foutz from the Operation Underground Railroad and what it does.
So my daughter a few weeks back kind of initiated some conversation about all this, and she was talking about Wayfair, and then it went into Pizzagate and some just continued, I felt like, down the rabbit hole. And at first me and my other daughter were like, no, that's, you kind of don't want to believe it, and it sounds so made up. And then as she started to give us more and more like things to look at, I'm like, okay, I do understand that it's a real thing. So we do need some education. We do need people out there helping us. So tell us a little bit about what you do and
the purpose
and the
of
purpose
OUR,
behind
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So I am a community relations manager for Operation Underground Railroad. And so basically I help team leaders. So we branch out. We have groups of volunteers all over. And those volunteers are led by a team leader if there's enough people in that area. And then I help those team leaders to kind of do awareness events and fundraising and things just like that. And then OUR, they have 3 main E's, I guess, which is emancipate. So they rescue child victims, mostly focusing on childhood victims. But if they find someone there, of course, they'll rescue them. So emancipation, and then empowering the law enforcement. So Operation Underground Railroad won't work with any, independently without the permission of the law enforcement in that area. Okay. And
why is that?
They don't want to be vigilantes, they don't want to just go in, and that could really cause some serious problems with the governments and law enforcement, and we want to keep doing this. So we have to have everybody on board.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so they empower them by helping them, training them. They really like to be invited. We don't really just go in and say, okay, we're going to take over this area.
Right.
So if areas of law enforcement want help, we're here for them.
To help educate them and train them on how to do it.
Okay. So, that brings to mind when I was traveling more frequently, you'd be in an airport and you'd see, maybe the sticker inside a bathroom, or maybe even in a business. That's not so frequent anymore, I guess, but maybe somebody who's trying to escape a bad situation, or maybe could reach out to someone, because that's maybe changed a little bit right now, and maybe someone is a victim. How can they reach out now?
That's a great question. So their 911 really can help you.
Okay.
There's also a human trafficking hotline, and I actually have that saved in my phone. So that's an easy thing that people can do if they want to start thinking about these types of things. And so a victim it's really hard for victims because they've been groomed that police are bad and everybody else is bad except for their pimps, and those people. So basically, and the children, if you're taken at 2 years old or you're groomed at 2 years old by your parents, you're not going to know by the time you're 8 that, that's just kind of life.
I know. It reminds me of when Elizabeth Smart was there, and then she had opportunities to maybe say something, but they had brainwashed her or scared her so much that she didn't dare. So what are some of the signs, or is there something that kind of sticks out that you could see that that's a victim and maybe needing help?
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So one thing that you can do to know all the signs, I just want to let you guys know, if you go to ourrescue.org, you can get trained. And there's a 45-minute training that you watch a 5-minute segment, and then you answer a couple questions, and you do that for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then some of the signs could be, sometimes they'll go into the doctor's, and the doctor will be like, so what's going on? And the man will answer, or whoever, there's women that go to, And so if they're kind of just downcast eyes and they can't speak for themselves, and you can just kind of tell. There's also signs of bruising and abuse, malnutrition, if you see like a really well-dressed man or woman and they have a child that's kind of shabby and just doesn't look like they're part of the group, or they're kind of like wondering what's going on. Why doesn't this kid have a bath, but this kid's wearing like Versace, you know, like what's going on? Sometimes there's even branding. They will actually tattoo their victims and brand them and say, this is my property. You know, they might have like something on their neck or their hand.
So visible.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, a lot of that mental scarring does stay for years and years, though, because I did watch the Epstein story, and you see the victims so many years later talk about the abuse that occurred and went on, and even after the fact, you know, that stays with them and how it carries over, and even now with children or families of their own, how they're still overcoming, you know, the mental anguish. Are there any particular stories maybe that you'd like to share with us of victims who you've maybe rescued or been a part of saving?
Yeah, so there's so many. If you go to that same website, ourrescue.org, and look at their blog, they are constantly talking about it. So our latest one on that blog that I've seen, she was an 11-year-old girl, and she was our 4,000th rescue.
Wow.
And yeah, so she was rescued and she was sick. She had COVID. And so she was quarantined and not feeling very well. And she'd never been celebrated in her whole life. And so they saw that her birthday was coming up and they knew that she loved chocolate ice cream. So they got her chocolate ice cream and they bought her some things and like a manicure set and stuff and some clothes. And she literally didn't know what to do with those feelings. She said, I've never felt like I was celebrated before. And she's 11.
Wow.
And
so,
do you know when she was abducted,
I
or
don't.
like it had been most of her life?
Yeah. And I mean, when we're talking about child trafficking, a lot of people I still can't wrap my head around it. We're talking about from the hospital to age 18.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not just
No, it's
older
horrific.
children. This is like bad.
Infancy, yes.
Yeah.
So either sold at infancy or used by their parents
or
for other
family.
people.
Yeah. Exploitation, child pornography, things like that. Let's just film it. There was one lady that she did it to her 6-year-old daughter. She sold her 6-year-old daughter. And she said, well, I was able to get the money from the porn and from the exploiter. So somebody paid her to use their daughter, and then she sold it. And so just stuff like that. It's just, I mean, it's dark. It's the darkest world to me. And that's why I'm here to fight this, because I don't think there's a greater cause on this earth.
So how did you get involved? Like, what was the driving
Yeah.
purpose? I mean, it's
So-
amazing, and thank you.
Yeah. I learned about it in college, and then I worked a lot, and I was like, man, and it would always be on my mind, in the back of my mind. And then finally, I quit one of my jobs, and I was like, I'm just going to dive into it. And I even thought about actually starting my own aftercare, and I looked into it, and I was
wow.
like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this, because I was just beginning my family and stuff. So I got online and I typed up, ending human trafficking stuff, and OUR popped up. And then I was like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, somebody's doing like what I would love to help with. And so that night I just signed up to be a volunteer, and then I got really involved, became a team leader, and now I'm community relations manager.
So how long have you
Wow.
been doing this?
Just over a year.
Okay, so barely
Yeah, so I learned about it clear back in 2012, and I just thought about it and thought about it and
Yeah.
thought about it, and then finally I just dove head first.
Yeah.
I was like, I quit my job, and I just did as much as I could.
Wow.
So
Found your
Thank you.
passion in it.
I can't
Thank
wait
you for
to talk
educating
about-
us. Thank you for being involved. Wow. I mean, This is just
And I'm
crazy.
excited in our next segment to know like the things we can do to help.
Right.
I've seen a couple people I know on their Instagram page saying, I'm now a volunteer. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad we have, oh, you are coming, so I can ask what that looks like, or money donations, or so many different things. So
Right.
there's more to come.
Yes, right. Coming up next, we'll finish our discussion about human trafficking and how we can help on Studio Chatter. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Thank you, Morgan, for staying with us for this very important discussion.
You're welcome.
Morgan, we could really talk about this
We could.
forever, but let's dive into this segment and tell us how we can protect our loved ones and family.
Okay, so the first thing you can do, like I said, is talk to your family members or your community about this issue. You can talk to, your children and just have a one-on-one about internet safety, and also, that was the third one. Was
Oh, good. See, I told you it would come back to
broken
you.
broken families. So make sure that if you are struggling with your family, that you get the help that you need instead of keeping on dividing. Try to get counseling and things like that, because runaways are a big target. And so, just try to do that. You can also, I speak at the library sometimes. You can become a volunteer. Just becoming aware and getting trained is that's probably the number one.
Yeah, I think just initiating that conversation so that your children and your family know that it's out there. And then maybe they're more apt to say, hey, I've seen this, or someone has. But I think if we don't talk about it, then we're not being able to educate and keep that line open, I guess. But who are our predators, like with our children per se, in our community?
It's so hard to know. It's men and women, and there's kid-on-kid problems. I mean, it could be anybody. There's not
everywhere.
a standard.
So it could be a friend in the high school,
Yeah,
but it also could be someone on Snapchat.
yeah, it could
It could be a teacher, an uncle, a brother.
a janitor, a doctor. I mean, there's no you can't
My
just say they're old,
goodness.
grouchy old men. There's women, there's men. They all, there's no certain profile.
How far is your reach? I mean, so you talked about the 11-year-old that you helped rescue, and it was like the number was enormous. I think you had said 4,000 or something. So when you're talking about that 11-year-old out of those 4,000, so you're close to us. Is that are you talking like in the U.S.? Are you talking? What are you talking? Like regionally?
All over.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Utah, I think we've rescued over 400 and helped assist in arrest of 304.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, there's 30 million people trapped in human trafficking today. And
30 million.
Yeah, and it's hard to even know how much.
It's just sickening.
That's like
And
a
then
number.
there's
It really is.
2 million of those, which that number is certainly growing, especially with COVID. It could be double that now, just in child sex trafficking. So then you've got your other areas of labor and organ harvesting and things like that.
Wow.
Are there different problems in different regions worldwide? Because you say that, and the movie Lion comes to mind. So I'm thinking of India, and some where maybe little boys could be a bigger problem than maybe girls, or maybe
For
where
labor, especially.
well, sex even,
Well, yeah,
and even maybe where electronics or devices are easier, are more accessible, or labor might be a bigger need than in other places in the world.
Yeah, what is our community's biggest problem?
So I can tell you that the United States is the #1 consumer of sex trafficking.
That doesn't surprise me.
So now we're up, I think, to number 3 of actually people wanting to come to our country to buy children. It's a really huge problem because I know we could go to Thailand and buy a boy for a night, and you can go to, wherever, Africa or wherever you want to go, and you can buy a child, and you go home to your family, and nobody knows what you did on your business trip, And so it's happening all over the United States. A lot of people think this is just a foreign problem, but it's really not. It's happening everywhere, and some cultures will have their own, and then within those cultures they'll have their own fetishes and things like that. But it's just it's rampant across the globe.
And I just, for a moment, I just caught a glimpse into your heart or soul, and to see the images or to be helping the person, how that must be so hard on your heart and your soul to be able to be that person for someone else and to see all the images and do all that. So I can't imagine OUR and the law officers and the people that are helping, how hard that is on them as well to be able to be coping with those things.
Thankfully, I don't have to see those. But Tim Ballard, the man who is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, that's what happened. Was he did a operation down on the Calexico border, and it was 12 miles away from his home, and he busted this guy, and there was a 5-year-old boy there, and the little boy was in his arms and said, "I don't belong here." And that day, Tim was he said he got home and he was so struck with just emotion that he just collapsed. And his wife thought that he was having a heart attack, and he's just I either have to be all in or all out. And that's something, I know it's hard. This is a really tough subject, and it's really hard. But think about the children living it. I mean, it's hard for us to think about, but they're doing this 20 times a day. I mean, it's we have to think about this. They can't rally on the streets. They can't petition the police.
Right.
We have to be their
advocates.
voice.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Yes.
What are some things, I mean, you've talked about volunteering. Just hop on OUR's website and probably click on volunteer and look. Money donations, I think I remember seeing that you can make a one-time donation or a monthly $5, $20, $100 a month donation.
Yep. So that's our abolitionist club, and you just go on to ourrescue.org, and then you can do those. And it's really important to actually keep funding OUR, because they don't just rescue the survivor and leave them, and then the perpetrators go free. They do all the way through from the beginning to end. They vet aftercare facilities to help these children. And so one operation can be thousands and thousands of dollars, but down to the stats, I guess, if you want to say, it's about $2,000 to save one child. So we really need help with that. But there's other things you can do. Awareness is huge. Volunteering, donating, and people ask Tim, they'll say, "What can we do? What is the thing?" If you just think about it yourself, you can figure out what your talents are. Because I have my cousin, she donates a tiny portion of her little teeny crochet business to OUR. You can do fundraising events, just things like that.
These guys know how I love to read, but I learned a lot about Tim several years ago when our book club read Slave Stealers. I want to give a shout out to that book because it parallels human trafficking, the story of today versus slavery hundreds of years ago, and those are so similar. And he's written several other books, but great insight if you're a reader to pick up one of Tim Ballard's books.
And there's a Slave Stealer podcast.
Oh, I did not know
I
that.
don't know if they're still updating it, but there's several good episodes on there.
Okay.
I love that podcast.
Okay.
This has opened our eyes, and my heart just hurts just thinking about that. So we need to take some action.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
I
real.
feel like so I used to cry about it a lot, those years that I didn't really do much. Maybe I'd donate somewhere if I saw something. But for me, the more that I help, the less helpless I feel. I I don't cry as much. I still do, but I'm like, you know what? I'm doing something. So
I would agree.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for being
you.
here and
Thank you.
sharing all of this with us, and we'll do our best to promote on our social media
Awareness,
and bring
absolutely.
awareness and give some good insight for our viewers to do what they
To
can
at least
do.
initiate some
Yes.
talk.
Yeah.
And even if
And
it's just
awareness.
awareness, if that's all
Yep.
you can do is just bring awareness into your own life and family, then
That's a
the
start.
Keep up the great work. Thanks so much.
thanks. I'm happy to be here.
There's more studio chatter coming up. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. How do we digest all of that?
That's heavy.
It is.
It is. It's a lot to take in, but it is happening. I mean, we can't deny that. There's certainly a lot we can do, though.
Right.
And I think maybe taking action helps the hurt a little bit. Like she was talking about, at first she cried and had a really hard time, and the more she helps, maybe that initiates like the hope that
Yeah.
I'm making a difference. But it weighs heavy, and then your mind just kind of goes down, like
Yeah.
what these victims might be going through. And so, like we were talking about, complaining about what we may have to go through, or our children is having to wear a mask to go to school, like that is nothing compared to what's
in
going on in
comparison.
some people's worlds.
Yeah.
In their day-to-day.
Yeah, their
Several
day-to-day
times a
living
day.
Right.
is
And,
awful.
and becoming, I mean, they have to become numb, I'm sure. And that's just like the nightmare that many of them are living every day. And then even after the fact. So if there is a rescue, and then if there's a healthy, happy outcome.
But those
how do
memories,
you-
those
right,
thoughts are
like,
just
how do
always
you
there.
ever really
You don't.
overcome that?
It's
I don't
hard. This is a hard world we live in.
It is.
And I think, I mean, you have to be educated, and then on the flip side, you have to do things that make you happy so you can feel good and be in a good enough place, I guess, to help others. Because
Right.
if you're down in the dumps, you're not going to
And
be able
if
to
you let
lift
it
others.
be fear.
Right.
So we can't live in fear. So we've got to educate ourselves and then take
Yeah.
action and just be
Yeah.
aware
Well,
that
I
it
think
is
there's
around.
a lot we can do, ladies. I think we need to report back and see.
what we
what we
can
can
do.
do.
Even just awareness, like posting about it, talking about it,
Yep.
educating our family about it. Like that's a step. Sometimes I feel like we've got to do so much and donate the monies and do the things, which are all good things that we can do. But I think the first step.
Yeah, and she had on that T-shirt, OUR. You can go
Uh-huh.
to their website, and they have clothes. And one of our salon owners, Stephanie at Salon de la Paz, we had her on, I think, in June. She bought all of her salon workers, I think all the girls there, 10 of them, hashtag Save the Children T-shirt.
So awesome.
and so I'm
That
just
is
like,
awesome.
just great ideas,
Yep.
like, you know,
To bring
get your friends
awareness.
together and say, hey, let's go in on this order, or I don't know. I think there's a lot of creative ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we had. Maybe we should have flipped our order so we could
We
have
should
ended
have,
on
and
a
then had
lighter
the
note.
Fruity Pebble cupcakes at the very
Exactly.
end.
We should have brought
Oh.
the cupcakes over and had a taste testing.
We
that
should
would've
on,
been
have.
on the
Why
way
didn't
out.
we?
Yes.
We should have
Oh,
done
they're
that.
crispy and yummy, and they look.
And
Getting back to basics. So that's kind of funny, and maybe we should have talked about the beginning of the show too.
oh, look, we have a
look at
delivery.
them. There they are.
Ask and we shall
Here, take
receive.
one.
Okay. Thank you. We'll taste this all together.
Good little taster
Oh,
note
we're going
to
to make
end
a
on.
mess.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Okay,
In fact, she's
this
going
is
to
a
come
mess.
back maybe in a month or two and talk about the salon and event planning. Maybe you can plan an event
I think that sounds great, and I love that
for the
there's.
holidays. Can you believe the holidays are near upon
No.
us?
Okay,
see.
you guys. That is so yummy.
That's really good.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Oh, wow.
I can tell that there's Fruity Pebble infused milk in this.
I can too.
right?
All I
Oh.
got was the frosting, so I need a.
Oh, yeah, you gotta just buy a bit of all. That's so good.
Okay.
I haven't had dinner, so that's delicious.
But
You'll go home on a
this is
sugar
dinner.
high. No, the
Not doing
holiday-
a bunch of chatting.
No,
the
we're just
eating
gonna-
is good.
You guys, we have a birthday party in like a month. Our own birthday party.
Oh,
What?
Maybe.
maybe she'll be she'll be making our cake. Maybe we'll have
Well,
our
that'd
event
be fun.
there.
Maybe
That
we
would
could
be
do it
fun.
at Shalon.
That would
Yes.
be fun.
So it's a date. Let's do it.
Well, do you guys have Labor Day plans? This will be
Maybe.
kind of through Labor Day. What do you guys have planned as of now?
Well, it is. I don't know. It kind of depends on what the guidelines are at that point.
It's our anniversary
Well,
that
they've
weekend.
said so. We want to go see Grandma and Grandpa
in Nephi or
in Mesquite. But they've said that like once the kids get back in school, that maybe they shouldn't be near the grandkids. So you know, with distancing and all that stuff. So I don't know what we're gonna do. We're conflicted.
I hate that.
I know it's
COVID is just
hard.
ruining some things.
Yeah, and you? Anniversary
It's our
plans?
anniversary, so I don't know. We haven't, and then it's a bow hunt, and you know, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that I think we're gonna try and go somewhere. I just don't know where.
You
Maybe my
inspired me one
backyard.
year to go to Mount Rushmore.
I
'Cause
know.
Wasn't that an anniversary trip?
Yes, it was.
I
That was
went
ours a
a
few
couple
years
years
ago.
ago. Yeah.
It was so good.
That was
I
a
could
good
go
trip.
back there again, honestly.
That was a good one.
So people
I need a road trip.
during this whole COVID season are apparently experiencing a lot of FOMO, but not in the FOMO that we've had in the past. So not necessarily grandiose vacations or the things that people are usually like, oh, they're posting these great trips, but things, you know, like maybe starting their own chicken farms or sourdough starts, like with maybe things
Oh yeah,
that,
it's like back to the basic
right,
stuff
right.
that people are wanting
So
projects
maybe
and
you could stay home and maybe
I should clean
build
my
some-
house is what I should do. It has been
start
it's been bad.
and our chicken coop. Or?
No, our bathroom upstairs had like a leak, like something broke.
Oh.
And so we had to tear it all apart.
You did?
2 months, guys. It's just sat there without the floorboard. We're ready to go on the project. We just don't even
Project.
care.
You've had a lot on your
We've
plate.
had a lot on our plate.
Well,
so
the
maybe
school will be
that's what we should do.
fine.
Stay
can
at
do
home
it.
and do the
It will
bathroom.
be falling soon enough, and then we'll be trapped inside. So
I
save
worry
the projects.
about that.
The snow?
Trapped inside.
Yes.
Well, we know how to do it now.
Yeah, we
Well,
do.
Maybe we could
And
take
we-
up knitting
Gotta buy some
and
more toilet paper though.
sewing.
Yeah.
Gotta go
I
back
think
there
we're
again.
good on the toilet paper.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm not.
I didn't
You
learn a lesson.
You didn't hoard?
No.
Are you
Brooke
good-
keeps saying we need to start buying some more meat again.
Are you
and,
good on
like,
Lysol wipes?
No.
No.
I priced that out. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I just
now they're
buy
up to
them
like
off and-
yeah, $8 and it's
And you don't care about Dr. Pepper, so we're
No.
good there.
no,
Okay.
Diet Coke.
Well, enough of that then. Thanks for being here with us. We hope you enjoyed the chatter. Stay safe.